Welcome to Caleb's Basketball Pod. As promised, for this episode, we are going to discuss the Emirates Cup games that happened in Vegas. Our first game that happened was Bucks-Hawks, where the Bucks narrowly defeated the Hawks. It was a pretty close game throughout. The Bucks pulled away towards the end, final minute or so. Trae Young had a near triple-double, 35, 7, and 10. Giannis had 32 points. Dame Lillard had 25. Also near triple doubles for them too as well, respectively. And I just want to say, before I talk about the Bucks real quick, I just want to talk about that Hawks team. They're getting notice around the league. I've talked about this before, but big athletic wings, long wings that can get their hand in, get steals, deflect passes. They lead the league in deflected passes. Dyson Daniels leads the league in steals, and he's poised to break the steals record for most in a season in January. That's extremely impressive. And if we look back, as I spoke on, what they did with the Knicks, how they played physical and didn't really get called for anything, that was big. And they got Jalen Brunson out of his game. Now, I tried to be a little physical for Milwaukee, but guys like Dame and Giannis, that doesn't really affect them much. But still a very good game from Atlanta. All respect to them that they're really turning you up at this point in the season. I hope it continues because it helps make the Eastern Conference a little bit more interesting when the Hawks are playing good and they give a nut to over 500 team. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And like I said, I hope it lasts for the season. Now let's get to Milwaukee. Hey, I talked about this a while ago. Milwaukee hit that soft spot. They started winning games. They went on a little win streak, and people was going to be like, oh, well, they beat teams they should beat. It's not their fault who was in front of them. They way out and they did what they were supposed to. Now they are winning games, and their date with the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Cup championship game is going to be a fun one to watch. Giannis is playing like 1A, 1B, depending on how you want to put him and Jokic as in the best players currently in the league, in the world at that point. And it's 1A and 1B, Giannis and Jokic, in my opinion, right now. And Giannis is playing at that level right now, and it's giving Milwaukee a shot to beat anyone. So I'm very interested to see how that game goes. But props to the Bucks. They're turning you around. And also Chris Middleton's back, so that's a big, big boost to the Milwaukee Bucks. Now let's jump to the Rockets Thunder game. Very low-scoring game. This game was very, very physical. A lot of fouls called. No one from Houston in the starting lineup really excelled, in my opinion. All in the teens. Nobody even reached 20 for the game. Thompson, off the bench for Houston, had 19. That was the closest to 20. No one really excelled in scoring, and when you're taking on a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder, especially when Shea puts up 30-some points, you have to have someone that at least excels and puts up big numbers, and nobody did for them. So it's going to be hard to beat a team like Oklahoma unless your star shows up or you see who your star is. In Houston's case, it could be Fred VanVleet, it could be Jalen Green, it could be Şengün. Either way, in my opinion, none of them showed up to the level they should have, and that's why they were sent home, and that's why Oklahoma won. But Oklahoma's been in the playoffs and stuff before. Houston's still figuring this stuff out. They haven't even been to the playoffs with this roster yet. So it's interesting. It's all uphill for Houston. Now let's jump to the Oklahoma City Thunder squad. That team is playing on another level right now. Ever since Isaiah Hartenstein returned, their defense has been elite. And I mean elite. 90 points they allowed to Houston. Shea was their guy, 30-some. Jalen Williams, decent game. Hartenstein, all of them good games. Enough to win. But now let's see how good their defense is when they have to defend Giannis and Dame. So it'd be very interesting. Giannis has not had a game yet this season where he shot under 50%. That's insane. Can Oklahoma's stellar defense be the forced one to make him shoot under 50? I don't know. We'll find out. But it'll be very interesting to see where it goes. For my prediction for that game, I'm going with Oklahoma. I think it's going to be close. I do think Oklahoma is going to win, though. I think they're using this and building this to get better and compete in the playoffs. So I like that and I respect that, and I think that's what they're doing. I think they're using it as experience to try and build as a team and win in the clutch in these tough physical games. And so far they're doing a good job. It'll be interesting to see if they can close the deal and beat Milwaukee. I have them beating Milwaukee. But in that same breath, Giannis and Dame have been playing really well together, are starting to gel. And Chris Middleton's back, so they'll count out the Bucks. Now let's jump to something else. So very interesting. Maybe a quarter of the league on December 15th, which was yesterday, is now eligible to be traded. These are guys who signed in the offseason with their teams. Re-signed, anything like that. Guys like that signed as free agents are now eligible to be traded. And I believe there's going to be a lot of trades before February. February is our trade deadline. I think there's going to be a ton of trades before February even hits. We always saw Dennis Schroeder going to Golden State. I feel that's a huge pickup for Golden State. You need someone besides Steph and Curry that consistently can carry the load of scoring, setting guys up and everything, and Schroeder, he can be that guy. I would not be surprised if it didn't take long before he is starting alongside Steph and Curry, and they do what Cleveland does, where they take one of them out and bring them back in with their bench unit, maybe about 5-6 minutes into the game. Would not be surprised if that's what Golden State does. I think that would be smart. But you're looking for playmakers. You're looking for someone to get everyone involved. Steph Curry's not that guy. Schroeder can be that guy, but Schroeder can also find his own shot when his team needs it. He's been playing stellar basketball for the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn Nets really didn't get much in return. D'Anthony Melton, who is out. Another player and a couple second-round draft picks. D'Anthony Melton is out for the season. I'm not exactly sure if his contract goes to next season. But it's a fire sale for Brooklyn. They're selling off. Probably going to get rid of most of their better players and give them a shot to win elsewhere. Don't be surprised if you don't see Cam Johnson go soon. Cam Thomas, they may keep and build around. Nick Claxton, they may keep. But I think still Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Johnson, I think all those guys are going to be traded before the trade deadline. Probably a couple more guys too. Bogdanovich will probably be traded, guys like that. Just guys that can really help and compete, big wings that can help and compete on championship level teams. Biggest key is going to be finding teams that can acquire them because of the tax aprons. And that may be a little difficult, but you may just have to do 1 for 1 or 2 for 2. You can go even trades. You can't go 2 players for 1 if you're in the second tax apron. As long as the money matches, you can make the trade. Now you'd have full incentives and draft picks, future cash, and stuff like that, cash consideration, stuff like that. You'd have to throw that in to make a deal happen. But the fact is, it can still happen. It would just be interesting to see how those deals come about. We also saw Thomas Bryant get shipped to the Indiana Pacers after they lost James Wiseman in, I believe it was preseason, for the season after they had just acquired him. So they needed a backup center, the Pacers did, and they got a good one, a Storty one in Thomas Bryant. So that's a good pickup for them. Heat got second-round draft picks. Again, teams that really want to compete like the Lakers and stuff, it's going to be hard for them to make trades. Have heard rumors of Jonas Valanciunas going to the Los Angeles Lakers. I've also heard rumors of Valanciunas going to the Golden State Warriors. And as I've spoke on before, I do believe he will get traded, and he'll get traded probably soon. I could see him getting traded before January. Just a hunch, because he played 8 minutes in their last game against the Celtics, and he's undoubtedly one of the Wizards' best players. And the fact that he barely played against the NBA champions. That doesn't make sense unless you know he's going somewhere and you just don't want him to get injured, that makes sense. And also want to shout out Karl Anthony Towns, who had a 22-point and 22-rebound game yesterday against the Orlando Magic. And Mo Wagner had his career-high 32 points. So 2 big games from 2 bigs. And we know who Karl Anthony Towns is, but 22 rebounds is insanely impressive, no matter who you are. And we know he's a star, but that's impressive. But 32 from Wagner, knowing his brother's out, and they need someone to step up. Paolo's out, they need someone to step up, and he did. So I like that, and Orlando's building for the long game right now. You know, they have 2 budding superstars in Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero, and they're both out with the same injury. But you know the team's going to be really, really good when one or both of those guys are back on the floor. So there'll be a top 5 seed more than likely, depending on how long the 2 superstars are out. But if they're not, there's still a team you do not want in the first round, because I do believe they make the playoffs no matter what, because guys may be healthy by then and they may get what would be known as an upset from lower seed. But then when you look at the roster, you'll be like, but it's not an upset because Orlando should not be a, say, 6th or 7th seed in the Eastern Conference. But hey, they'll give, right now, I believe with their long wings and how they're all coming together as a team in their defense, they'll give anyone in the top of the Eastern Conference, the Celtics, Cavs, Knicks, they'll give any one of them a fit. And if they do beat the Magic, it's still not going to be an easy series, and it'll probably go to 6 or 7. So watch out for Orlando is what I'm saying. With that said, we're going to end this podcast. We're going to talk more about the Cup on Wednesday as we await that championship game. And a lot going on in the NBA right now, so stay tuned. Next, like I said, we'll talk about the Cup game, and we'll see what's going on in the NBA. We may have some trades by then. Who knows? We've already had 2 in mid-December. That's pretty impressive and pretty cool and fun to look at. But teams are jockeying for position right now, so it'll be interesting to see where we go and what teams really work the market to acquire better players and bump up their roster. I believe the Lakers need more shooting. But again, we'll see what happens. And very interesting time in the NBA season. And also, a week from Wednesday, we have our big Christmas games. We'll talk more about those games when we get closer to Christmas. But I'm going to see it. I'm going to see some really good games in the next week or so. So stay tuned. Keep it locked in the NBA. A lot of cool headlines, a lot of stars performing, and a lot of teams moving and already trying to work and get the pieces to make a deep playoff run. That's fun. See you Wednesday.